Here. So I'd like to welcome you all to our second wealth building seminar. My name is Warren Lee, in case you don't know me, and my other brother from the US, his name is Joseph. And we're here to basically show you today how to build some wealth. I want to first start off with a little introduction. Now, I was talking to my friend Candace yesterday. We were talking a little bit about wealth building, and I said something that I thought was kind of interesting, and it's actually true, that building wealth is actually a discipline. And so basically, disciplines, I've been reading a lot of times through the past, that disciplines are actually a very, very good thing for people to get involved in. So disciplines are like anything, could be like art, ballet, dance, martial arts. So basically something you start from the bottom, you build your basics, your skills, and then you improve and you grow into this art, piano, a lot of different things like that. It's actually, disciplines are great for you. And the reason why is because it's great for your mind, it's great for your soul, it's great for the body. And it also makes you usually a happier person, a more well-rounded person. So disciplines are very, very important. And the thing about money, wealth, people don't think of it this way, but I think of it this way, that money is a discipline in itself. It requires study. It requires you to start from the basics. It's a lifestyle of building. That's why people who are wealthy, money is part of their lifestyle. Not in a way of, spending and stuff like that, but of creating and accumulating. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So I've devoted myself for the last 20 years almost to the study of money. And I've always been very fascinated by it and what it can do, what it can buy, all the different types of emotions that it brings people through. And then finally in 2019, my net worth hit 1 mil. And nothing has really changed much in my life, except I felt that I grew more into the discipline. So money, in my opinion, is not there to be used to show off or to flash or anything like that, but it's like a discipline. It's a study that betters your life. So that would be my opinion of what money is. Now, in this seminar, I'd like to discuss that there are basically 3 factors that separate the wealthy from everybody else. If you saw my poster, you see that we talk about 3 factors. Before I talk about the factors, I want to clarify a couple of terms. When I say the word wealthy, there's a lot of different ideas that come to people's mind. They think the guy who's driving a Porsche, or they think of Bill Gates, or just people like this. So, or Drake. Okay, these people are very wealthy, absolutely. But what are we talking about when we talk about wealthy? Basically, when we discuss wealthy, we're talking about people who have accumulated wealth. Okay, these are people who have wealth. That means they've built money, or sorry, they've built investments, or they bought real estate or whatever, and they have a bunch of wealth. And non-wealthy people are people who have not accumulated much wealth. So basically, just because you're making a lot of money doesn't mean you become very wealthy. Now, I wanted to dispel a couple myths surrounding wealth that I see out there. A lot of people have this impression. I listen to the way people talk. And just the other day, my friend was saying, oh, I saw Patrick the other day. He must be balling because he pulled up in this brand new BMW. And I'm thinking, that's an interesting thing to say. It's probably very common. If pulled up in a brand new BMW, he must be rich, right? So there's 2 myths surrounding wealth. Number 1 is what you spend money on, and the other one's high income. So let's talk about the first one, what you spend money on. So that's called the look of wealth. So if you're driving around in a Porsche, or you're wearing a Rolex watch, you're carrying Prada handbags, then you want people to think that you're rich. And does that really make them rich? Not always. Just because the thing is this, because you can spend money on it doesn't make you rich. Now, there are rich people who buy those things, but there's also a lot of people who go into debt to buy these things. And debt, probably not a good thing to use to buy these things just to try to look rich. Okay, so what you spend money on does not make you wealthy. Second one is high income. People think, oh, if I'm a doctor, I'm a CEO, I'm going to be rich. If I'm making like $250,000 a year or more, I'm going to be rich. Well, that could be a little bit further from the truth. Just because you have a high income, it does not make you rich. It depends what you do with that high income is what matters. So the thing is, I've met people who make a high income and they have no money because they have all this debt, they got cottage, they got an expensive sports car, they take a lot of vacations, all that kind of stuff. So their high flying lifestyle is supported by their high income. They don't have much wealth. Now, conversely, I've met people who don't make much money, maybe 50,000 a year, and they work some modest job, but they save a lot of it and they've accumulated a lot. They'll have hundreds of thousands of dollars tied up in investments. Those people are wealthier than, let's say, the doctor making $250,000 a year and all this debt. So those are two myths of wealth I want to dispel. Now, there are different categories of people that are wealthy. I want to focus on the category of people that are self-made, okay? When I talk about wealthy, you might think about celebrities, movie stars, people who won the lottery, people who have trust funds, so people who made big inheritances, people who married into money. Yes, of course, they become wealthy too, but we're not talking about those people. We're talking about people who are self-made. So those are people who started with nothing and have built something. Those are the people we're talking about today. And when I say the word wealthy, these are the people we're referring to. So in sum, basically at the end of it all boils down to how much you have. So the more of it you have, the wealthier you become. So it's not what you spend on and not how much you make, is how much you have. So the first factor out of three is desire. Desire is the want to make more money. So you might think that's kind of funny by saying, oh, but doesn't everybody want to make more money? Well, you think so, but I mean, I have met people before in the past who don't really care about that so much. They're not tied up. They're not all their energies are poured into making money, but they have their families. They might go to church. They're very, very happy and they don't care to make more money. And that's fine. And as long as you're happy, that is the most important thing. Now, the second factor is mindset. So this is very, very important. The wealthy, they think very, very differently from everyone else. And we're going to talk more about that in a moment. First thing I want to do is I want to start off with a little quiz. Now, the people that were at my last seminar, we had a little bit of a quiz too, but this one's a little bit different. I would love for you to grab a sheet of paper and a pen somewhere around you, or use your computer. You're going to choose A, B, or C. What I want you to do is I want you to answer the question to how it applies to you and not what you think is the right answer. Okay, so we're going to start with this little quiz, 10 questions. Get a sheet of paper, please. The first question is this. When you were growing up, your parents, did they, A, encourage you to succeed and not conform to the crowds? Did they support you and insist that you get a degree or some sort of post-secondary education? Or they pretty much left you to your own devices, A, B, or C, the one that applies to you? 2, your parents told you, oh, I'm sorry, 1 second. Okay, perfect. All right, sorry, let's get back to it.
Does this bother you if I do this?
Okay, here we go. B, your parents told you you can achieve anything you want if you put your mind into it. Or B, play it safe and get a secure job. Or C, life is hard, making money is hard, and only lucky people get rich. 3, when you are unsuccessful, you A, put it down as experience, learn from it, try again. B, feel depressed and get upset with yourself about failing. And C, you give up immediately and try to cover it up, blame someone else. Number 4, which of these statements fit the way you think? A, anyone can make a lot of money if they put their mind into it. Most people have to have a head start to make money, and it's very difficult to get ahead. Or C, I was born into a family that struggled with money, and that's where I'll stay, as I don't have the opportunities that other people have. If you want to make more money, you A, start a side business, look for investments. B, work harder at your job and do overtime. Or C, buy lottery tickets, hope you win. What does money mean to you? A, money buys freedom of choice and gives you the ability to help others. Or B, gives me a comfortable life but does not buy happiness. Or C, it means I can pay my bills but I'll never be rich. Rich people are the ones who grow the economy and create products and ideas. Contributors, B, contributors to society, but they really don't care about the poor. Or C, mean, ruthless, and selfish. They don't really care about anything else rather than making money. 8, do you believe that money is the root of evil? A, not at all. It makes the world go round. B, no, but too much money can corrupt people. And C, yes, for sure. I think communism still has merit. 9, if you suddenly came into a $50,000 inheritance, would you A, spend some of it, but invest most of it to grow it over time? B, spend a chunk of it, invest the rest, and continue to work? Or C, blow it on a car and a vacation because there's plenty of time to save? 10, do you know what it takes to become wealthy? A, yes, I read a lot of books on about success stories, entrepreneurs, as well as many business and wealth books I can get my hands on. B, I have a fair idea, but I prefer to earn a regular salary. Or C, no, I don't care. It's out of my reach. As long as I can feed my family, I am fine. So what I like to do now is calculate all of the A's, B's, and C's that you have from your quiz out of 10. Do you have mostly A's, B's, or C's, or a mix? What exactly do these answers represent? A's, they represent a wealthy and growth mindset. The B's represent a middle-class mindset. And C's, they represent a poor or a negative or a consumption mindset. Now, I don't want you to worry if you have a lot of C's. Don't worry about that. Back in the day, I had a lot of C's as well. Now, I want to discuss my transformation from a consumption to a wealthy mindset. Now, back in the early 2000s, I was a high school teacher with the Toronto District School Board. And give me 1 second, please. I'm just going to mute you all. Give me 1 second. Hello, welcome. Nice to see a lot of people here. I am going to, 1 second, mute. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. I muted everybody, so I'm going to go back to my slides. Give me 1 second, please. So it all started in the early 2000s when I was a high school teacher with the Toronto District School Board. So back then I was in my early 20s, early to mid 20s. This is the first letter I got from the Toronto District School Board acknowledging that I got a position with them and they're going to pay me a whopping $38,000 a year. Couldn't be happier, I guess. I guess that was quite a bit back then. This is my classroom, one of my classrooms anyways. And I took a picture of this before I left the year later. I think I taught Canadian history, economics, grade 12, grade 11 accounting, a couple classes in there. So I had some good memories in that place. And you can see how neat my desk was. So I was a very organized person at that time. Not very organized with my spending, but very organized with everything else. Now, in my early mid 20s, basically I knew nothing about money and I spent money like water. Okay, life was amazing. A lot of vacations, shopping, nice restaurants. So I basically blew everything I made and my savings were zero. Now, thing is this, how long could I sustain this for? Now, my dad, he came up to me a while ago, I remember, and he said to me while I was doing all this, he said to me, he goes, hey, I want to know how much of each paycheck are you saving? And I said, I don't know, 20%. I kind of just made that number up because I just want him to stop yelling at me. It was more like zero. So he said to me, he said to me, he goes, I want to tell you something. He goes, you know how much of each paycheck I save? And I said, no, you tell me how much of each paycheck you save. He said, I save 50% of each paycheck. And I have this house, I have a family, I have all these expenses, but you have none of these expenses and you can't even save anywhere close to that. And so, of course, that kind of zinged me a little bit. I mean, it kind of hurt. He was right, though. And it kind of really made me think, oh, by the way, that's not my father. That's just a random meme I found on the net. It's really kind of funny. So what happened next was I said to myself, okay, you know what? He's right. I gotta, but he's not right in the sense that, I got to save more money. That's what I should have done. He was right in the sense that, it's like, what the hell are you doing with your money? Why is it all gone? So I said to myself, okay, I got to make more money. How am I going to make more money? Rather than trying to save more money, which I should have done, I go, how can I make more money? So I talked to one of my buddies, and he worked on Bay Street, and he was a day trader. So he's day trading these stocks. He told me all about it. He's like, oh yeah, man, I make like a couple $100 here, a couple hundred bucks there. Sometimes make a few thousand. Sometimes I lose a little. And I go, yeah, cool. I want to totally get into it. So he taught me how to get into it. And then I started day trading. I started making a little bit of money, like a couple $100 here, $50 here. And then I started getting a little more cocky. And what I did was I borrowed money from the bank. I borrowed $30,000 from the bank, from an unsecured line of credit. And I dumped it all into these different stocks. So I got Bombardier, Air Canada. This was back in like the early 2000s. Okay. So those stocks were kind of up and down a little bit. And we had 9/11. So we had, 9/11. And so stocks were tanking, going up and down all over the place. So what I did was then I bought Nortel. So Nortel, this was for us Canadians here. If you remember back then, if you were around back then, this was the darling company of the Toronto Stock Exchange. So this company here, a lot of people had money tied up in Nortel. A lot of pension funds were tied up in Nortel. And so basically what I did was I took $30,000 from the bank and I sunk it all into Nortel. And I can't remember how much I bought it at, but I think it was like 80 or I don't remember. I can't remember, on the way down. So in July 2006, Nortel stock hit $124.50. And then like 2.5 years later, it dropped to 67 cents a share. So I held it right to the very, very end, hoping you can see that slide coming down. I was hoping it'd go back up. These analysts are saying, don't worry, it's going to go back up. The market's going to correct itself, blah, blah, blah. But Nortel released all this news about accounting scandals and what they did was they inflated their balance sheet. So they sold a whole bunch of products out there and got accounts receivable. So they didn't get the cash, they just got accounts receivable, and they put it on their balance sheet, and that made the company look good. Oh my God, this company's owed like all these millions and millions of dollars. Oh my God, yeah, it must be doing great, right? But they couldn't collect. And when they couldn't collect, it dropped even further. So I held it right to the very end. And I think I sold out at $1 or something. I can't remember. But anyways, I lost $30,000 of the bank's money. Needless to say, I fell into a despair. It was probably one of the hardest times of my life. The thing about losing money, you see, if you lose your money, your own money, it's one thing. But if you lose the bank's money, it's a whole different level of pain. So that taught me a really, really hard lesson. So that marked the official end of the consumption mindset. Okay, that was it. I said to myself, I can't do this anymore. This is ridiculous. I can't keep spending money, can't keep blowing money like water. And now I have to focus on paying off this debt. So what I did now was I try to save as much of each paycheck, of each teacher paycheck as I could, a little whopping $38,000 a year. I try to save as much of that as I could. So what I did was I cut out all vacations, no more vacations. All those nice pictures you saw, it was all just a memory now, all gone. No more shopping, no more nice restaurants, like near the CN Tower, none of that kind of stuff. So what I did was I focused on cutting out as much spending and saving as much as I possibly could. And every paycheck, I was able to save a good amount. I was able to pay off the debt. Now, it took me 5 years to pay off this debt. Okay, and this 5 years, in this 5 years, it was pretty painful. So during this 5 years, I had to learn how to be frugal. Okay, so being frugal is probably the most important lesson that you're going to get out of this seminar today. If you're not frugal, you have to try to be if you want to become wealthy. Frugal is just really basically being is acting in a sparing manner, being economical when it came to food or money. So not wasting. And other people who are frugal are people who don't waste. Okay. So some of my frugality, some of the ways I was frugal included, number one, I had $2 meals. So I went from these like $80 dinners to $2 dinners. So you can just grab a can of tuna for $1 and some bread, chop up a little onion, slap it together. You got a meal. You grab some ramen noodles for $1. And don't get the ones in the bowl because the bowl is more expensive because you're paying for the bowl. So you get the ramen noodles in the package, buy it in bulk, it's cheaper, and then you throw some hard-boiled eggs in there, and you've got a meal there. So $2 meals were staple. I was able to save a lot of money by having that. Got rid of my car, started taking public transit. You know, if you get rid of your car, how much money you save, insurance, all that kind of stuff, gas, maintenance. So you save quite a bit. Now, naturally, I wouldn't do that now, but I mean, back then it was kind of like very, very important. I had to pay off that debt. Downgraded my phone plan. I went back to my phone company. I'm like, okay, I don't need all this and that on it, this sort of plans. I got rid of a bunch of stuff. So I was able to save like, I think like $14 a month or something. So that was really cool. Started comparison shopping, because you know how like you go to some grocery stores, you see the same product, you go to another grocery store, it's cheaper there. So just make a list of what you see is too expensive in one store, what's cheaper in another store, and then make a note of that, and then start going to that store to buy that stuff. Bulk purchasing is good, you know, like Costco or Sam's Club back in the day. Buy that stuff in bulk, lasts you for a long time, cheaper too, so save some money that way. Now, during those 5 years of paying off the debt, that is actually when I developed my wealthy mindset. And how so? Basically, what I wanted to do during that time was I wanted to do activities that didn't really require me to spend much money. So this involved reading a lot of books. On what specifically? On wealthy people and wealth building. Read a lot of good books, read a lot about successful people. These are really good books that I've read. I do recommend them. That's a great one too. But the most influential book I have read was this one, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. If you have not read it, I do recommend you read it. If you've already read it again. I've read it over 3 times already. It is a great book. I've learned so much from it. This gentleman here, Robert Kiyosaki, gives a completely different perspective on how to look at money. So basically, after reading about all these different types of people and reading these different books, I learned one thing. I learned that the wealthy differed in their thinking, so they thought very differently, and how they made their money was very, very different compared to everyone else, and that's what made them wealthy. Also learned about how the wealthy made investments and how they have multiple sources of income. So with this newfound knowledge of wealth building, I began to take action. So what did I do? First thing I did was I set up a side business. But I didn't really know too much about how to run a business. So what I did was I enrolled at the University of Toronto, Wordsworth College for business classes. So that's why it took a little bit longer to pay off the debt, because I actually was now, the money that I saved, I was also paying tuition to U of T. So I first opened my side business in 2004. It was a little kickboxing gym. That's what it looked like there. So very rustic, raw space. Over time, started to build up a little bit, which is really cool. So basically during the day, I would work as a teacher, and then at nighttime and on weekends, I'd run to my gym to teach classes, cleaning. I would run the business like marketing, answer calls, accounting. Over the year, the business started to grow, as you can see. And at this point, I had 2 sources of income, which is really cool. I had my teacher salary and I had the side business income. So I had 2, it's better than 1. This actually helped me pay off the debt faster. So finally, at the end of the 5 years, I have achieved a couple of monumental things. Number 1, I eliminated the consumption mindset. So I continued being frugal. I didn't spend money, blow money like water anymore. I gained a wealthy mindset. I opened a side business and I paid off my debt. Greatest feeling in the world is paying off that debt. I'm sure there's quite a few people here who have debt, who've paid it off. Honestly, I can't describe the feeling that you get. Something that looms over you for many years. And when you make that last payment, it's just the most magical, wonderful thing. So after I finally paid it off in 2006, my last payment to the debt, my journey towards wealth accumulation began. Now, basically in my journey through these 5 years, I've learned a couple things, and I've learned about what it is to have a wealthy mindset. Now, if you Google search what a wealthy mindset is, you're going to come up with a lot of different interpretations, okay? But this is my interpretation of what someone with a wealthy mindset has. And if you want to be wealthy, I recommend you adopt these points. First one, the first order of business, to eliminate the consumption mindset. That's a given. That is the need to spend or waste money. If you're concerned about image and impressing others, that just leads to more spending. The next step is very important, is to embrace frugality. I have it underlined in caps. It's so important. You have to live below your means. This will help you save money every month. Now, what should you do with that saved money? Well, you should put that saved money towards paying off debt. It's really hard to move forward when you have debt, okay? Wealthy people are not fans of consumer debt. So there's different types of debt, and the worst one is consumer debt. That's when you buy stuff on credit, you take a vacation on your credit card, you buy a nice expensive sports card, you're paying it off, you're paying over $1,000 a month on it. Not the best. Number 5, once debts are paid off, what should you do with that saved money? Put it towards growing it, invest it, side business. We're going to get more into that in a moment. The wealthy are always on the lookout for opportunities and thinking of ways to make more money. Whenever you talk to a wealthy person, they're always talking about ideas. Oh, I want to open this business, or I have this investment. They're always thinking. Their brain is grinding about how to make more money. In other words, making money to wealthy people or people with a wealthy mindset is more important than spending money. Alternatively, those with a consumption mindset are always looking for ways to spend money. So I'll give you a little example here. My father and my uncle. So this is almost 20 years ago or something. So my aunt passed away, and she didn't have any children, or she didn't have a husband. So she left some money to her brothers, which is my father and my uncle. My father's name is Jim, and my uncle is Bob. So she left money to Jim, my dad, and to Bob, my uncle. So it wasn't a lot. It was like $50,000 each or something. So what happened was my dad has a wealthy mindset. So when my dad got his 50 grand, he bought stocks. He bought TD Bank stocks. That's all he did. He left it there. It's still there. I think it's still there now, 20 years later, but I'm sure it's grown quite a bit. My uncle, on the other hand, so my father was executor of the will. So he took care of all the money for my uncle and himself. So my father said to my uncle, he said, hey, listen, why don't I help you invest this 50 grand? And my uncle goes, yeah, let's talk about that. I kind of need some money. So my father's like, what do you need the money for? And he said, I got some credit card debt and this and that. I was very vague about it. So my father goes, okay, tell you what, I'll give you 10,000 and I'll put 40,000 for you in stock. And so my uncle said, okay, that's fine. So of course he went through that 10 grand in, a couple weeks. And then he came back to my dad and he goes, hey Jim, I need some more money. And so my dad goes, what the hell do you need the money for? I just gave you 10 grand like 3 weeks ago. He says, I know, I had some credit card debt, and then we had to buy this new piece of furniture we wanted for a while. And so my father goes, okay, so I'll have to sell off some stock. So gave my uncle another 10 grand. So then 2 months later, my uncle came back and says, hey Jim, listen, I'm gonna need some more money. And so my father goes, what the hell did you spend it on now? So my uncle says, well, we took a nice cruise. And then when we came back, and then, my wife, her name's Bessie and I, we had to go visit her sister down in, I don't remember where it was, in Florida or something. So we had to do that. And so eventually this kept happening. And after about 10 months, guess what? My uncle's 50 grand was gone. He spent it all. Credit card debt, vacations, furniture, whatever. So you can see the difference between a wealthy mindset versus a consumption mindset. Okay, so unfortunately today my uncle is not doing so well health-wise. He's in his 80s, he has no money. He's always kind of coming to my dad for money. My dad feels sorry for him, so gives him like $1,000 here, $1,000 there. It's really, really sad to see that. I feel really bad. But I mean, unfortunately, that's the product of a consumption mindset. Now, it is important to learn from wealthy people and books, because wealth is knowledge. So the more you read, the more you'll know. Just like myself, I learned a lot just by reading all those different books and about all those different types of wealthy people. Now, some people have asked me, when I talk about being frugal, they go, oh my God, so if I have to be frugal, I have to live like I'm poor in order to be rich, so I can't spend any of that money? And I go, no, that's not how it is. You need to be frugal from the beginning. If you want to build wealth, to start from the bottom, you have to be frugal. That's the first thing you have to adopt. Now, when you become wealthier, you don't have to be as frugal. You can spend more if you want it. Okay, but in the beginning, if you want to build wealth, you have to be frugal. Now, they confuse being frugal with being a miser. Okay, so a miser, now, when you meet someone who's frugal and you call them cheap, It's not really the best term to describe them. Now, someone who's cheap is someone who's a miser. Okay, a miser is someone who's so cheap they don't want to spend money on anything. And I remember I went to this restaurant one time, and this guy, the owner was there. He had half the lights turned off in the restaurant. He was trying to save money, so it was already dim. Kind of not a good experience right off the bat. Go down in the washroom to wash my hands. The hot water was turned off. And then when I came up, I asked for a straw with my pop, and he gave me like one thin little piece of straw. So anyways, I mean, that's a miser. Okay, so Scrooge from A Christmas Tale, Christmas Story, whatever it was, you know, that's a miser. Okay, so don't be a miser. The reason why you don't want to be this cheap person is because, first of all, nobody likes you, because you think that, oh, you're doing yourself a favor by, okay, so if I drop the heat, or if I don't buy this, or I don't need this because, you know, it's a little bit too much money, so I'll just kind of freeze a little bit in the wintertime. If you start doing that kind of stuff, you get a bad reputation. People don't like you. And number three, it affects relationship building. People don't want to be around a cheapskate, okay? If you want to build wealth, you need other people to help you, and you're not going to build wealth. It's going to be hard to build wealth if you're a miser. Now, this is important. Building wealth is a process that takes time and discipline. There are no shortcuts. Okay, so remember, it's a discipline, right? So if I want to be good at ballet, I want to be good at piano, I'm not going to get good overnight. Okay, I have to start with the basics. I have to learn as much as I could. I have to practice. And I have to keep learning and practicing. That's the same thing about building wealth. It takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. Now, once you begin to adopt a wealthy mindset, it will replace most, if not all, the B's and C's in the previous quiz that you did. Now, the third factor that separates the wealthy from everyone else is strategy. Now, what does that mean? Well, people that become wealthy have a different strategy. They make their money differently than people who have a middle-class mindset or a consumption mindset. Now, to understand the strategy, we must first learn the characteristics of two major types of income out there: earned and passive. So earned income is the most common, is what I think like 80% of the population engages in. So basically, earned income is exactly what it is. It comes from a job or a career where you have to physically be there to work. So basically, you're trading your time for money. So it's very, very difficult to become wealthy by trading time for money, unless you're making hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Okay, then you could become wealthier faster than the average person. Now, what do you get? Type of income? You get a paycheck every 2 weeks. This also includes people that are self-employed. So you think when you open your own business that you're going to get wealthy. You could, but the thing is, a lot of times when you open your own business, you work in your business. So you're there working all the time. Okay, so you service customers, you pick up the calls, you do all the marketing, all that kind of stuff. So when you're doing that, you don't own a business, you own a job. You are the job. If you're not there, you don't get paid. Same with earned income. If you're not there, you don't get paid. Now, let's look on the other side, passive income. So with passive income, this is the key to how the wealthy become quite wealthy. So in passive income, basically, passive income comes from income producing assets, such as rental properties, businesses, investments, etc. Now, the good thing about passive income is that money comes into you that you don't have to physically be there to work. So if you own a piece of rental property and the tenant's paying you rent, great. If you own a business and the employees are making money, great. If you own investments and it's paying you out every month, even amazing. How do you get paid? You get paid with rental income, dividends, interest, royalties, and basically, so that, in my opinion, is a good way to go in terms of passive income. The wealthy are also big on acquiring MSOI, multiple sources of income. This is very important too, rather than relying on only one source, such as a job or career. In addition, the wealthy, they're not big on trading time for money. Okay, they're not really big. You don't find too many wealthy people in the earned income section. Why? Because the more passive income you can generate, the quicker you'll become wealthy. So Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad, he says when your monthly passive income exceeds your monthly expenses, you can officially retire. So let's say if you own some rental properties, you own some businesses, and they're paying you out every month. Let's say it pays you out like I don't know, let's say it pays you out like 6,000 a month in passive income. You don't have to be there to work, and your living expenses are maybe 3,000 a month. You can officially retire. Your passive income covers your living expenses. You can retire. Now, the thing about earned income, the way to retire and earn income is the pension. So these people work like 30 years of their life, and then they get a pension. So that pension will be paying you out every month when you're retired. So that is their passive income, is that pension. So basically, you are doing your earned income to build your passive income, which is your pension. So that's basically the difference there. Now, I would like to introduce you all to a good friend of mine. Name is Joseph. Joseph is from the US, and I had Joseph on last time. And Joseph here is a very interesting person. I met him when I was in Toronto. He was in Toronto, I think it was a couple years ago, and we hit it off. When I started talking to him, the reason why we hit it off is because I found out this gentleman here, he had a wealthy mindset. So we became good friends. We talked a lot about money and different things like that. And I decided I want to ask him to come on to the show here, the webinar here, because he's given me a lot of really interesting ideas too. And I think that he can definitely be of good benefit here to help other people build their wealth. Joseph, my friend, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Beautiful. So, Joseph, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, like Warren said, I travel to Toronto quite frequently from Baltimore. So I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, and I met Warren in Toronto. I am a government employee. I have 20 years on the job. And at about year 15, I decided that trading time for money was not going to be my focus anymore. And at that point, I decided to get into real estate, which I've done the very next year. So it's been 4 years that I've actually been investing in real estate. And at that point, I realized that passive income is the type of income that I want to focus on rather than earned income, which is basically trading time for money, like Warren said. So that's been my focus since 2016, and I've been going strong ever since.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Can you tell me? So here's the thing. Exactly what Joe's talked about, top of real estate. Now, people that become wealthy when they go into income-producing assets, when they focus on passive income, they usually focus on something, on like either real estate or stocks or something like that, and then they become really good at it. They put a lot of investment, a lot of time into it, building the passive income within that sort of realm. So Joseph here has decided to go into real estate. So Joseph, can you tell us why you chose real estate as your main source of passive income?
Absolutely, absolutely. So the reason why I chose real estate when I did my research, because I did a lot of research on which direction I wanted to go to with making passive income. And the reason why I chose real estate is because there are 7 ways to make money within real estate. And covering all 7, starting with first, for people who want to get into real estate and they don't have a lot of money, wholesaling is a way that you can get into real estate without having a lot of money. The act of wholesaling is basically flipping contracts. You're putting a house under contract and you're going to sell it for a fee to another cash investor. So wholesaling is one way. We all know the sexy way of making money in real estate is fix and flip. I'm sure everybody's familiar with that. You also have new construction, which is another form of fix and flip. It's probably a higher form because you're starting from scratch. Rental properties, everybody knows you can get into rentals. And then commercial property is, again, another higher form of rental properties. And then you could also fund a project. So you could actually be the silent partner funding a real estate project. And then the 7th and final way you can make money in real estate is to JV, to partnership. Joint venture is what JV means. You can joint venture partnership with somebody who either has the money, the knowledge, the experience, or you may be the money and the other person may have the experience. But you know, if you come together and work as a team, you can also joint venture on any business project. And within those 7 ways of making money, I chose rental real estate. And I chose to dive into rental real estate first because there are 4 main pillars of making money within rentals. The first is cash flow. Everybody knows you buy a rental property, the tenant pays you, you pay your mortgage, and then you take the rest and you pocket that. So cash flow is one of the 4 pillars. Next is rental properties are a huge tax shelter. Anybody who has a large tax burden, rental properties is a great tax shelter. Which for myself, I know I don't have any kids, and at the time I didn't have a house. So I was getting hit hard on taxes. And ever since I've gotten into real estate, my rental properties have kind of evened out my taxes. So I really don't pay much in taxes each year. The third way is appreciation. Everybody knows that when you buy a house today, the chances are tomorrow your house is going to appreciate. So you're making money through that way, appreciation. And the third way is loan amortization. Everybody knows that if you get a rental property, you get a tenant. The tenant is paying down on the mortgage, right? Which is ultimately making you money as well. And those are the reasons why I chose real estate.
Okay, that's great. I just want to have a look at something here, Joseph. So here's a picture of you. You said the sexy way of real estate is basically flipping, right?
Fix
Buy
and flip.
property, improve it. I think in the U.S. you call it rehabbing,
fix and flip. Yep.
Rehab, fix, flip. And this is you doing a flip.
Correct.
And
That's actually my current project right there I'm working on.
very nice. How's that coming?
We actually started painting, doing trim, doors. So it actually, we're way further along than this right here.
Very good. It looks like a big, huge project. Now, what's impressive about you is the fact that you have a full-time job, so you
Correct.
are a government employee, and so you are in the earned income bracket, but you are also in the passive income bracket with your real estate.
Absolutely.
So you are already working on multiple sources of income, right?
Yes.
You don't just have one income. So it's hard to become wealthy from one income, but you got all this different types of income. It will enhance how quickly you become wealthy. And you have some other projects I think you got going on about how you want to be making money.
Absolutely. So I'm actually currently looking into getting into Forex trading.
Okay.
I find it very fascinating. I'm a traveler myself. So the idea of trading foreign currency, it excites me. So I'm definitely looking into Forex trading. I'm definitely looking into investing into businesses. And eventually I want to buy my own business. So those are the other ways that I'm looking at actually getting into more passive income.
Very nice. So you are definitely on your way to becoming wealthy. So last question I have for you, Joseph, what are some tips that you can give to, let's say if someone came up to you, Joseph, and said, hey, listen, I want to make more money. How do I become wealthy? What sort of tips would you give these people?
I got 2 tips that I'm actually going to share with everybody. But first, before I get into my tips, I do want to say that for rental properties, I do have a strategy that I utilize. And I wanted to share my strategy, which is, it's sort of like the velocity of a dollar. How many times can you turn over the same dollar and keep gaining assets, such as rental properties? And that strategy is called the BRRRR strategy. It's BRRRR, which means buy, rehab, refinance, rinse, repeat, right? And it is exactly like it sounds. You buy the property, you rehab the property for rental, and then you refinance the property. So that very same money that you put into the property, you're going to refinance out into a 30-year mortgage and get all that money that you put into the property back, right? And then you're going to rinse and repeat the same process over and over and over again with the same money that you initially came in the first property with. right? So that is my strategy for investing in real estate rentals anyway. And if I was to share two pieces of advice, it would be one, I would say whatever you choose to do, I would say get a mentor in whatever you choose to do. You can either go out there and make a lot of mistakes on your own. Like Warren said, he went out there, he got into $30,000 of debt and lost his money. And I'm sure at that point, once he paid it back, I'm sure he started asking more questions, right? Whether Warren may have realized it or not, he had a mentor. Once you ask somebody a question about a specific trade, that guy is mentoring you, right? So that way you don't make the same mistakes. But if you get a mentor in the first place, he's gonna help you sidestep a lot of those obstacles that you may encounter. So I would definitely say getting a mentor in whatever you choose to do. And the second piece of advice is a mindset exercise, right? So here I got an American $2 bill. These are now obsolete in the United States, but I kept two of them just because I like to keep it because it's obsolete here. So this is an American $2 bill. And I want everybody to look at this $2 bill and think inside of their head when they see currency, right? Because that's what this is. This is currency. What do they see when they see this $2 bill, right? And I've gotten all kind of answers. And the typical answers is I see $2, I see some money I can save or, X, Y, Z. And when I see this $2 bill, right? What I see is I see two employees. And when you have a business and you actually have real employees, you want those employees to work as hard as possible for you. You want them to show up on time. You want them to, be honest if they work in a cash business. You want them to give great customer service and know about the product that they're selling or offering, right? So I see two employees, right? And when you have these $2 bills, how do you use your employees? Are they working hard for you, or are you spending your money, on a Saturday night at the bar with your friends, right? Because I look at that as, okay, well, I just laid off, 20, 30 employees that I could have put to work, and my 30 employees could have came back with another 30 employees, making me have 60 employees, right? So that's just a mindset shift in how you spend your money. Think of all your money as employees, right? So those are the two pieces of advice that I would give out.
Man, I love that. I love that analogy there, brother. It's when I was talking earlier about my father and my uncle getting that inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad got 50 grand, my uncle got 50 grand. And what's the first thing my dad did? Threw it in the stock market, and that was his employees making money. What did my uncle do? Vacation, furnitures, all that kind of stuff. So basically, my uncle just fired 50,000 employees.
Man.
My father still has those 50,000 employees working for him today, 20 years later, because my father saw that as, well, I don't need this money. You know what I mean? I'm making enough. I take what I need to live on, and then I can invest the rest, right? So he still has those 50,000 employees. I don't know how much they're worth now. Quite a bit. And they're still working. So I love that, man. That is one of the best, most powerful things when it comes to money that we can talk about. Joseph, I want to thank you for the little chat there.
Absolutely.
And what I want to do next, I like to discuss basically the summary. Now, we talked about the 3 factors that separate the wealthy from the non-wealthy. So the first one we talked about was desire. You have to want to make more money. The second factor is a mindset. So you should study, understand, adopt the mindset of the wealthy. So in short, if you want to be like them, you have to learn how to think like them. And the last is strategy, we just talked about. Remember this, the wealthy do not rely or focus on only one source of income, such as a job or a career. You see, when you ask somebody who is, let's say, middle class mindset or poor mindset, you say, okay, you got to make more money. How would you make more money? First thing they're going to say is, I'm going to work harder at my job. or I'm going to march into my boss's office on Monday morning asking for a raise, or if I put in overtime, or if I work like on holidays, I'll get time and a half. So that's their thinking already. They're focusing only on their one source of income and trying to squeeze more out of that one source of income. That's a hard way to live, I have to say. It's tough, okay? Instead, why don't you put that energy and time into acquiring passive income, income producing assets. Start researching those sort of things. Get passive income. Now, wealthy people understand that the more income producing assets that you have, that you build or you buy, the more passive income that you will receive, and you'll grow your wealth faster. Now, I'd like to discuss an action plan, the wealth action plan. Now, here's the thing. The book that I recommended, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The thing about that book is, I know it's a great book. It's not the be all end all, but it's a very good book. Now, the thing about that book is that he had some criticisms. Okay, I have some criticisms of the book too, but one of the biggest criticisms that Robert Kiyosaki got in that book was that he had all these ideas about how to create a wealthy mindset, about money and all that stuff, but he never really kind of gave a plan on how to get there. So people were looking for a plan. People like plans, like point forms, like, okay, this is what I start with first, this is what I do next. Okay, so he never really provided that, and I'm going to provide that in the next 10 minutes. So action plan, first one we talked about, desire. Put in your mind, first thing is you want to make more money. Now we're going to take action. Number 2, mindset. Eliminate the consumption mindset, focus on building the wealthy mindset. It's also important to work on a growth and a positive mindset, okay? So if you don't know what a growth and positive mindset is, Google it. Growth and positive mindset is like when someone asks you something, do you respond positively or negatively? Do you say, oh yeah, that's a great idea, I'd like to look more into that. Oh yeah, that's really cool, I'd like to try that. Yeah, let me learn more about that. Or no, I don't know enough, but I'd like to learn more. Negative mindset would be like, I already know about that. Nah, that's kind of scary. Nah, I'm too busy. So that's a negative mindset, okay? So in order to build wealth and you have a negative mindset, it's pretty tough. Okay, now we're gonna talk about strategy. What are the strategies, the ways you can build wealth? So adopt frugality, very important. This leads to something called smem. I want you to keep this in mind, smem, S-M-E-M, it's an acronym for something. Look for ways to trim expenses and cut out unnecessary spending in order to have smem. Smem stands for save money each month. That's a smem. General rule, the more frugal you are, the higher amount of smem you will have at the end of each month. That's natural to say, right? What I'd like you to do is determine how much your smem should be. What is your target smem per month? Do you want to save like 100 a month? Do you want to save 500 a month? Do you want to save 1,000 a month? Okay, so obviously the higher the number will require more strategies like more frugality, maybe different sources of income, that sort of thing. Okay, so keep that in mind, smem. What should you do with this smem? Save money each month. Put it towards paying off any debts first. That's really important. Debt is your hindrance to wealth creation. Pay off debts with the highest interest first, such as credit cards, right? That's like a 20% interest or whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but I heard it's really high. So get rid of that. That's what I did, right? I used my smem to pay off my bank loan that I borrowed 30 grand from, okay? I used my smem. Now, once the debts have been paid off, I want you to continue saving and being frugal. You can now use this smem towards building wealth. So instead of paying off debt, this smem is to build wealth. Now, if you want to build wealth, you might be looking at something you want to buy. It's going to cost you this much, or this rental property, or this stock, or whatever. You want to buy it now. So what you have to do is you have to accumulate more smem to buy it. So if I'm saving, let's say 1,000 a month, and this stock is going to cost me $5,000, let's say, then I'm going to need $5,000 of total smem. So I'd have to save up for 5 months. Okay. So the money you save every month, your smem will go towards counting as your total smem. Now, in addition to your full-time job, consider a side hustle or opening a side business to create a second source of income. Now, people are asking me, oh, so Warren, are you advocating that we should quit our job, quit being in the earned income and just focus on passive income? No, I'm not saying that. As you can see with Joseph here, he has a full-time job and he's also in passive income. The thing I'm saying is that you should not focus on just your earned income to make money. It's very hard. Okay. Now, telling people to quit. Now, you see, Robert Kiyosaki and Rich Dad Poor Dad, he was a really big advocate of telling people to quit their job. You know, people who work as an employee, it's really hard to make money, get high tax. Yes, those are all true. But he has to consider that a lot of people don't want to quit their jobs, and I understand that. Okay, it's for telling people to quit their job and open a business or go into real estate full time. It's just not very feasible for a lot of people. Okay, they don't really want to do it, and that's fine. So I'm trying to present a different alternative by showing how you can still build wealth by keeping a full-time job. And if you're risk adverse, that's not a problem too. As long as you have a wealthy mindset and being frugal, you can still create wealth. Now, avoid putting in extra time, exactly what I was talking about, at your full-time job to make money. Instead, start focusing on income-producing assets and passive income. Now, while you are building up and letting your total smem accumulate, use the free time that you have now to read books on wealth accumulation, wealthy people, pay attention to how they built their wealth. Also network with wealthy people, successful people, and how they built their wealth. That's very, very important, because the more you can learn from these people and from books, the more ideas that you can come up with. Okay, they'll give you a lot of really, really cool ideas on how they make money. Like Joseph there, I like the way how he's making money. Really, really cool. Now, research all of the different income producing assets out there and figure out which one interests you. Okay, so you might be thinking, all right, I'm ready to make some money, some extra money. How do I do it? Should I do real estate? Should I do stocks? Should I do business? Well, you know what? Find out first what interests you and then start doing research. We have so much information on the tip of our fingers right here on the internet. Lots of different information, not like what back 20 years ago when I was going through all that crap. I only had to read books. That's all I got. Okay, so, and now we have all this internet. It's really, really awesome. So, and also speak to people who are in those fields who are doing well. Find out what they're doing. Once you have determined and researched which income producing asset you like, now you will put your time, your effort, and your accumulated saved money each month towards acquiring it. Repeat as much as you can. Use passive income to purchase depreciating assets if you wish, or better yet, income producing assets. So here's the thing. If you want, Robert Kiyosaki said in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he says, yeah, you know, when I made it, I bought a Porsche and I was driving around town in this Porsche with a top off, and it was really, really cool. And it was a symbol of my success and I felt good about it. And then he says, but I did not work a job to buy that Porsche to pay off every month the lease. I used the income from my rental properties, my passive income. I used my passive income to pay for that Porsche. And so that is the best way to do it if you want to purchase depreciating assets. Or better yet, use that passive income to buy more income producing assets. You can do that too. Decide which one you want more, or spend a little on depreciating assets if you wish. Now, once an investment has been made, it is best to not sell it. Once you've made an investment, try your best not to be like, oh man, I need the money, so I'm gonna go and get this, go pull it out of my stocks, or I'm gonna sell my rental property. Try not to do that, okay? Because when you have these income producing assets, they are producing income for you. You know what it's like? It's like having a farm and you have chickens and they're making eggs for you. You take those eggs, you eat it, you sell it, you're making money off these eggs. So why would you want to sell your chickens or eat your chickens? Then you'll have less eggs. Okay, so it's really, really important that you don't spend your investments. Once you've made it, pretend it's gone forever, okay? Now, if you really, really need money, let's say, oh man, I hit this, I got to fix my car, whatever, I really need money, then it is better to take it from your smem than it is from your investments. Remember, you're accumulating money every month, your smem, okay? The smem is there. And as you let your smem build up, waiting to buy an investment, you can access some of that smem for whatever spending you need. Any emergency financial things you come across. Now, very important, you beware of scams. There are actually more scams out there than legitimate opportunities. Watch out for fast-talking salespeople. And if you are presented with an investment that makes you feel uncomfortable, well, it's best to research it first to decide if you really want to get into this. Remember, never feel obligated to invest in something that doesn't make you feel right. Okay, it is very important that you do your due diligence before you make any kind of investment. Now, focus on steadily increasing your income through a combination of earned and passive income, or just passive income. The other focus should be on maintaining a frugal lifestyle and resist increasing your spending as your income increases. That's called lifestyle creep. The more money you make, the more you spend. Okay, that's called lifestyle creep. Try to avoid that because that is a sure way of killing wealth. So basically a combination of steadily increasing income and maintaining the same level of frugality will lead to an increase in smem, which will ultimately lead to a larger total smem, enabling you to purchase more and larger income producing assets, which in turn increase your income even more. And this, ladies and gentlemen, this is why the rich get richer. Okay, so we all hear that adage out there, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Well, the reason why is exactly here. The rich get richer because they're always looking for ways to make more money and increasing their passive income, buying income producing assets, looking for opportunities. That's why the rich get richer. The poor get poorer because when you get money, like my Uncle Bob, he gets money, he's got to spend it. So he's poor, he's very poor now. So it's really sad. Now, Benjamin Franklin, what did he say? He had a really, really good quote. Benjamin Franklin said, money makes money, and the money that makes money makes more money. So think about that for a moment. Money makes money, and the money that makes money makes more money. So Benjamin Franklin wasn't just like this great inventor. He was also a really, really big wealth accumulator. And I guess that's why they put him on the highest denomination, the $100 bill, right, in the US. Now, I'd like to, the last thing here, I'd like to show you, it's a little chart I put together. This will help to put some numbers in place, help you understand how to build some wealth here. So as you can see here at the top of the chart, I have a net monthly income, monthly expenses, smem, total smem, your net worth, and details as to how we get that. So your monthly income, the first part, let's say, okay, so here the details says, before taking the seminar, you only have one source of income. That is your job. Okay, you have one source of income and you're paying rent on your apartment. This is where a lot of people fall in this category, and that's fine. Okay, this is where you start, no problem. This is the beginning of your discipline of money and wealth creation. Okay, so your monthly income, let's say you bring home $4,000 a month. That's your net. Don't worry about gross. Okay, we don't like talking about gross. Yeah, I make $250,000 a year, but after you take away all the tax and everything, you're only bringing home one something. Okay, so it doesn't sound as good as $250,000 a year. So your take-home pay is $4,000 a month. Your monthly expenses are $3,900 a month. So your smem, you save $100 a month. Okay, so your total smem is 100. I saved $100. Your net worth is 100. Net worth is how much you have. Now, let's go to number 2. So after you took my seminar, you learned to be frugal by cutting expenses by $500 a month. So you might have done things like, cut down the drinking on weekends. You pack a lunch now instead of buying lunch every day. Maybe you don't go out for those fancy coffees every morning, but you make your coffee at home. You comparison shop, you buy in bulk. So look at this, $4,000 a month. Now your monthly expenses got down to $3,500 a month. You just saved $500 a month. Your smem is now $500. That's really cool. So your total smem is $600 because you add it to the 100. You got a total of $600 saved. Your total saved is $600, which is really cool. You're on your way. Your net worth is now $600. You're worth $600. Now, number 3, you look for ways to be even more frugal. You got it down to cutting expenses by $900 a month. Okay, congratulations. Now you're thinking of ways of increasing your monthly income without having to rely on or work harder at your job. You're not going to go in and work weekends and overtime and go bitch at your boss for a raise because you deserve one, all that kind of stuff. You're not going to do that because you're going to start looking for other ways of making money, passive income. Okay, you understand now that generating wealth should not rely on one source of income. So look at this. You bring home $4,000 a month, which is the same for your job. You trimmed your monthly expenses to $3,000 a month. Wow, that's really good. So you're saving $1,000 a month. Your smem is now $1,000 a month. Your total smem is now $1,600. Or I'm sorry, that should say $1,700. Okay, that's a little bit of a mistake. So your net worth is $1,700. Now, number 4, you started a side business to bring in an extra $100 per week. Okay, in addition, you are still frugal. That's really good. So now your monthly income, your monthly income is now $4,400 a month because you're making $100 extra a month for your side business. You've got your job, which is $4,000, your side business $400. Your monthly expenses stay the same at $3,000 because you're still frugal. Now your smem is now $1,400. Okay, now $1,400. Your total smem is now $3,100. You're saving money every week. Now, your monthly income, let's say, rises because your side business is now actually doing better and you still maintain your frugality. You resist the urge to spend more money when your income goes up because you're like, oh man, my side business is doing good, so I'm gonna spend more. Well, you resist that urge, okay? So you resist lifestyle creep. So you're making $4,600 a month, you kept at $3,000. Your smem now is $1,600, which is increasing, which is really good. You're saving more money every month. Your total smem is $4,700 and your net worth is now $4,700. Now, number 6, your side business is now generating $1,000 a month. Your total smem needs to go off. What should you do now with your total smem? Your total smem. You're saving $6,700. You now have $6,700 saved up because of all this great advice I've been giving you in the seminar. What should you do with this total smem? Well, the first thing, like I said before, the first thing you should do is pay off any debt. Okay, pay off the debt. Debt is not your friend unless it's good debt. Usually debt is not your friend. If, let's say, you don't have any debt, you paid off all your debt, your total smem now should go towards purchasing income producing assets. Okay, so let's go to number 7. Fast forward, when your total smem accumulates to you've accumulated $25,000 just by being frugal, man. So you increase your income, you be frugal. This took a little while, but you saved $25,000. It's possible. So what do you do with that money? Well, I'm going to buy some dividend paying stocks. Okay. I'm going to buy some stocks that pay me a dividend every month. My total smem will now be 0 because I just bought $25,000 worth of stock. Now it goes back down to 0. Okay. We start this cycle all over again. So number 8. Now let's have a look. These stocks pay you out $200 a month in passive income. So that's really cool. So check this out. Now my monthly income is now $5,200 a month. $4,000 from my job, $1,000 from my side business, and $200 from my dividends. Okay, so that's pretty good. I increased my wealth to $5,200 a month. Now, my monthly expenses stay at $3,000 because I'm still frugal. Okay, I live below my means. I don't start wasting money. My saved money each month. My smem now is $2,200 a month. That's pretty damn good. So my total smem is now $2,200 because remember I deployed the $25,000 buying stocks. So now back down to 0. Now it's $2,200. So my net worth is now $27,200 because I have this plus I have this smem. My net worth is now $27,200. I'm worth $27,200. That's pretty damn good. So let's move on to number 9. We're gonna fast forward to when my total smem accumulates to $50,000. Okay. So what do I do with this? Well, I need a place to live. I don't want to live in this apartment. I don't want to keep paying this landlord rent. I'm paying off my landlord's mortgage for him while I live there, right? So I'm going to use this 50 grand to buy a property, put a down payment on a piece of property where I live on the main floor and I'm going to rent out the basement. Okay, so I'm deliberately looking for a piece of property that I can rent out part of it. Why? Because this rent will create an additional source of income as another passive income. Okay, so things are going good now. Now, number 10, the basement now has a tenant and provides you with a cash flow of $500 a month. So he's paying you $500 a month to rent your basement. At this point, you have replaced rent with mortgage payment as part of your monthly expenses. So instead of paying rent now at this apartment, I'm now paying mortgage, much better. You now have 4 sources of income, monthly income. You have your job, which is $4,000 a month. You have your side business, which is $1,000 a month. You have your dividends from the stocks, which is $200 a month. And now you have your rental income of $500 a month. Congratulations, you are now on your way to becoming wealthy. You will continue to use total smem to buy more investments, rental properties, stocks, etc., and watch your monthly income grow passively, of course. Now let's look at the last part here, number 11. You've been working really hard, building your wealth. You're doing good. You are now what I call a disciple of wealth. You have embraced the discipline of wealth accumulation. Okay, so if you start playing piano, you start off as a beginner, and now you're like approaching level 6 piano, level 7. You're getting really good at it, and this is what's happening with you with wealth. You're getting really good at it, at building wealth. You've decided to reward yourself a bit. Why? Because life is to be enjoyed. So your monthly expenses go up a little bit. Okay. Now check this out. Why does your monthly expenses go up a little bit? Because I'm going to treat myself a little more. I'm going to go out for dinner a little more. I'm going to take a little vacation. Okay, I'm going to enjoy myself a little bit more. Not too much. Not too much. Your side business made $1,300 this month instead of $1,000. Your stocks have increased in value. Now worth $30,000. Okay, so your net worth goes up. You purchased them for 25,000, so now you have a capital gains of 5,000. So I bought my stocks for 25,000. Now they're worth 30. I just made 5,000 capital gains. What did I say? You might think, oh man, I want to grab that 5 grand. But what did I say about investments? Once you make an investment, do your best not to sell it. Okay, try not to get tempted by this. Oh my God, I got 30 grand now. I can spend this. Try not to do that, because it's still making you money every month. So why would you, like a chicken laying eggs, why would you want to eat that chicken? It's still making you eggs every month. Every day. Those eggs are great. The only time really you should sell an investment, I would say, is to buy another investment. So if you see another investment out there that requires more capital and you're like, okay, you know what? I can let these stocks go and then I'm going to buy this rental property. This rental property is going to cost me $100,000, but it's in a good area. The guy wants to get rid of it quick and I only have 50 grand. Okay, maybe I'll sell some stock. I'll sell this and then I'll put it there. That's fine. Now you're just deploying your investments into another investment. That's fine. But when you're selling your investments to put some money in your pocket so you can go shopping, not a good idea. So if you look here, you're making $6,000 a month now. Your monthly expenses are $3,200 because you're enjoying life a little bit more. You can probably let it go up a little more if you really want it. Your smem each month is $2,800. Your total smem $5,500, and your net worth is going up because you have stocks, you have the property, you have your stocks went up, so you have an extra 5 grand. So instead of 80, it's now 85. So that's basically that is basically my way of showing you how to create wealth by starting off slow. You want to keep your job, that's cool. But as long as you adopt all these sort of strategies, you can become wealthy. Now, over 10 years of doing this, I would say that you'll accumulate a nice tidy sum. So Joseph, with his full-time job, he's building his properties on the side. So maybe one day Joseph might want to quit his job. If he's making enough money from his passive income, he might want to quit his job. That's completely up to him. I've seen quite a few number of people that became wealthy using this method. So people think, oh, if I want to be wealthy, well, I have to open up this $1 million business, or I got to buy all this real estate, or I have to be some kind of stock market whiz. That's not true. Okay, that is not true. People can become wealthy simply by being frugal and focusing on income producing assets. So I'd like to thank you all for listening to my seminar and for Joseph's talk. And I do hope that you people have learned something from this. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to open up the floor for anybody who has any questions, has any comments for us. Joseph and I will stay on for another about half hour or so. And I hope that you people can take some of this information and run with it. And I hope that you can start building wealth, even starting as early as today, using these strategies to help you build wealth. Now, I just want to say before I open up the floor, this whole COVID thing that hit, I do feel really bad for a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people got hit unexpectedly. A lot of people lost income. A lot of the stock market, a lot of the value of their investments went down. It was a really, really tough time. And of course, the people that were wealthy, they've weathered through this quite easily. Okay, because the wealthy people now know that there's a lot of opportunities out there, different stocks and stuff like that to purchase. So the people who are struggling a little bit financially, okay, so I mean, it happens, it's really sad, but we can get through this. But just remember this, no matter how much money you make, as long as you are frugal, you can still weather the storm, any kind of storm. And so that's what I want to say. And does anyone here have any sort of questions or comments that they'd like to direct to any of us? Joseph, I'll start with you by saying, do you find this seminar a little bit better than the last one?
Yeah, man. There's a lot more information.
Good.
There's a lot more information, man. Both ways for you and I. I definitely think it was a lot better. If nobody has a question, I would like to ask what everybody on the call, like, what do they do? Like, what is it that they're into?
Concrete.
Joseph, I think you got a question. Someone has a question for you. They put
Yeah,
it in.
Jane has a question here for
Oh,
Joseph.
okay.
Hi, Joseph. I want to ask your perspective because you live in Baltimore, and how do you see Toronto real estate market?
I see Toronto's real estate market as a little more challenging. I stay a lot of my time in downtown Toronto, and I do know that the real estate in Toronto is a lot more expensive. I know with the down payments and just the amount of money that you have to come out of your pocket with is a lot more than Baltimore. For that reason, I wouldn't initially start investing in Toronto because of that reason. What I would suggest, though, is if you would look at other markets. I don't know what the outskirts or the suburbs of Toronto looks like, or if you want to invest, even further out in Canada. I do know that there is a certain tax that for people who live outside the country to invest in the United States. Warren was talking about that a little bit with me. So it may be expensive for you to invest inside the States if you live in Canada. But I would, if Toronto is too expensive, which I believe is way too expensive for me right now, I would look on the outskirts of Toronto and up and coming areas. Like, those are the areas you want to invest in. Not to invest in areas that are already hot. You want to go into the areas that are up and coming, where you see new construction. If you see a school's being redone, or if you see a brand new hospital that's being put up, wherever you see commercial real estate, you want to start investing in those areas for housing, because that's going to be the next thing. So you can buy at a less expensive rate versus then when the market is already hot, because by then it's going to be too late. So I myself, in short, I would not invest in Toronto right now.
Mm-hmm. And if people invest in the real estate outside of Toronto, which require less capital, but it doesn't have the rental market as strong as downtown Toronto, do investors still have, positive or break-even cash flow monthly?
I'm sorry, it sounds like you're talking about a rental, am I correct?
So let's say people invest in downtown Toronto real estate, the price is high, but at the same time, the rental market is also strong. I mean, pre-pandemic. So people are still carrying positive cash flow. So over time, the property appreciate. But if you invest outside of Toronto, the rental market is a lot weaker. Like, you won't have the tenant to give you a positive cash flow, so you are losing cash flow every month. If you look at long term, do you still see it's a good investment strategy?
Yeah, I see that. And for rental, the rental market is stronger inside of Toronto, and that is very true. Now it all depends on what you want to do as an investor. If you want, like, I would set a goal. I would say, how much do I want to make per door, right? Do I want to make $500 per rental property, $800, $1,000 per rental property? And then you can make your decision there, because investing in, let's say, I'm guessing Brampton. I'm not as familiar with the outside of Toronto, but maybe Brampton, maybe a different spot, where if you say I want to make $500 a door, can Brampton bring you $500 a door, and you don't have to invest as much upfront money? Because that's what you got to look at is, if I'm going to buy a house in Toronto, that's going to cost me $800,000, $1 million, and I got to put down 20% on $1 million, that's $200,000, right? So even though you may be getting a little more cash flow, how long will it take you to get back $200,000 versus going to Brampton, where I don't know how much the houses cost in Brampton, but it's going to be a lot less. So the money that you put out to buy a rental property will not be as much, but at the same time, the rent you're receiving is not going to be as much. So that's really a question. That's going to vary from person to person. I'd rather put in as less of my own money as possible, regardless of whether I'm making more money or not, because that just means I have more capital to invest in other places as well. I'm not just investing a lot of capital into one rental property and get my money back in a longer period of time. So it's like cash on cash returns, stuff like that you got to look at as well.
I see. Okay, thanks, Joseph. My last question is, with this COVID, do you foresee more defaults?
So I will tell you about here in the U.S. So of course, Trump, as of Friday, I believe, has signed a new executive order banning people from getting evicted. And I don't know what he's done for the landlords, because the landlords got to make their monthly payments as well. So do I see more people getting evicted? Possibly. What I definitely see is I see more landlords probably going to sell their rental properties because tenants are not paying 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 months. And as a result, the landlords are not going to be able to make their rental properties mortgage payments. So I do foresee a lot more foreclosures, a lot more landlords wanting to sell their rental portfolios. As far as tenants, right now, nobody in the United States is being evicted. So I don't know what's going on in Toronto as far as the evictions and stuff like that. But I know your economy is doing a little better with COVID than we are in the United States. So I do see more foreclosures and I do see more portfolios being sold. I don't know about evictions though.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Joseph.
Mm-hmm.
No other questions.
So yeah, thanks for asking that, Jane. Yeah, we're a little bit different here in Canada, our real estate market. I mean, for us Canadians, or I'm sorry, people that live in Toronto, I've been talking to different real estate investors, and a lot of them are not in Toronto investing. So they're going outside of Toronto, even to Guelph, Kingston. These are like towns are like an hour away. And they're buying there, and or Hamilton, things like that. So I mean, they're doing that too. But I know, Joseph, that when I was looking at the U.S. market, and I thought, holy cow, it looks really good. I mean, there's so many deals down in the U.S., not just in the state of Maryland, but I mean like Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana, Alabama, Kentucky. There's all these states, and there's so much property down there for sale. And it's not like the prices here in Toronto. It's crazy. So you were telling me, Joseph, I remember you saying, hey, I could buy a house, a single family home in Baltimore in a pretty half decent area for like what, 50, 60K US?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you could rent that out to a family for $1,200 a month. So
let's take my my rental property, right?
Yeah.
I got a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath, 1,000-foot square house, right? It's not a huge house, but I bought it for $43,000.
Wow.
I rehabbed it for $45,000, and I refinanced it, threw it into a 30-year mortgage, got all my money back, and I rented it out for $1,350, right?
Wow.
So my mortgage on that is about $800, and I make $1,350, so that's about a $550 spread.
Wow.
That I'm getting.
And how many properties you got now, Joseph?
So I have 4 rental properties right now, and my goal
4
is
properties. Damn, and you still have a full-time job.
Full-time job. I also rehab homes as well. So like the picture you saw, that's one of my houses that I'm going to rehab to sell. Mm-hmm. And my goal is to pay off all my rental properties so I can be free and clear. I don't want so one of my mentor told me this. He said one thing you want to do on a yearly basis is stress test your business. It doesn't matter if it's real estate or if you have a business selling clothes or whatever your business is. You want to stress test it under a recessionary type of atmosphere like we're in now with COVID, right? So that way you can see if your business is going to survive in a recession or a depression, right? Because if y'all noticed, I see a recession or a recession happens about every 10 years, right? And we try to avoid a depression as best as possible. But I want to get my business free and clear. And that's one of my ways of being recession proof, is not having that overhead of a mortgage, right? So that's my goal for the next 2 years. I want to pay off these 4 rental properties, which in turn is going to actually give me higher rent, right? Because I won't have to pay anything.
You won't have any debt to pay.
Absolutely, no debt to pay. So my $550 goes to a full $1,350 in my pocket, right?
Damn.
Of course, I got to pay taxes and insurance, but I mean that's a given. But
and then that time you're gonna visit me in Toronto more.
Absolutely, I'll be able to come to Toronto a lot more, right?
Like it's amazing, man. I really want to buy property in the US after I saw all that stuff. You're doing all these amazing deals and stuff. But then when I looked more into it, that I saw that US law says that any non-American, so any alien, I guess anyone who's not an American is an alien. Is that right?
Correct.
That's what you guys refer us to. So as an alien, if I own rental property in the US as an alien, I must automatically pay 30% of my gross rental income to the IRS, no exceptions. So if I bought that house in Baltimore for 60 grand or 50 grand, whatever, and let's say I'm making 1,200 a month, so automatically I don't keep that 1,200. That 30% of that 1,200 is gone right away.
That's so $300.
That's more than $300, right?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
And then whatever's left, I have to pay the property manager, insurance, state of Maryland, property taxes. So I'm thinking, and then bring it back to Canada, then I get taxed there. So I'm like, I don't know, man. So I guess that's kind of a smart way the U.S. government tries to keep aliens out of the country, so to speak, right? Make it that it's so expensive to be an alien in the U.S. So yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. But I was going to say that. Another thing is people are worried. Nothing I want to say is that people get worried about the value of their investment going down. So they might be thinking, okay, so I buy this property and then we hit a recession and now my property is worth less.
Correct.
So that really just impacts your net worth. So for example, I buy some stocks and then COVID hit and my stocks are worth this much down.
Right.
So the only thing that gets affected really is your net worth. Okay, now you're worth less because this is worth less, you're worth less.
Absolutely.
But the way I'm going to tell people is that the type of investments that you purchase should be for long term. You hold it. Okay, so you're waiting for it to go back up. And number two, it should be generating some sort of passive income. So if you bought a rental property, it should be giving you rent. If you buy stocks, it should be giving you dividends every month. So I don't care if my stock is up here or is down here, but it's paying me out every month. That's cool. It's like my chicken, right? If my chicken gets fat, my chicken is skinny, I don't care, because as long as the chicken keeps producing eggs for me, I'm good. You know what I mean? I'm not going to eat my chicken, so I'm just going to leave my chicken alone. So it's the same thing with investments. So when people start panicking, oh my God, my stocks are worth this. Oh my God, it's like, you know what? Relax. It depends on your mentality of invest. Some people buy an investment to wait for it to go up and they sell it and then spend it. So in my opinion, it's probably not the best way to do it. Yeah. I was going to say, there was a question by Andrea Roa. Hey, Andrea, how are you? Andrea said the question she had was, I would like to learn more about how you got into stocks, dividend paying stocks, right? So I'll just answer that super quick. Basically, when you look at the stock market, there's different stocks to buy, and anyone can buy these stocks. Now, some stocks pay a dividend, some don't. So dividend really is like giving you money for owning it. So it's kind of like a thank you. Hey, you bought into our company and you get to share in it. So we give you a bit of money, usually every quarter. Every 3 months, they give you some money. And that money is usually determined by how much profit they're making. So if it's a good company making a good profit, they'll give you a good dividend. The thing about dividends is that it's used to attract investors. So if I'm an investor and I'm looking to buy some stocks and I see that this stock here is paying out like, oh man, it's paying out $1 in dividends, or this stock here is paying 10 cents in dividends, I might go for the $1, you know, depending on how well the company's doing, because it's paying a good dividend. It's probably going to cost more to buy it, but that's okay. So as for me, what I did during COVID was that the markets took a pounding. So I went, so you guys remember my whole talk about smem? total smem and all that sort of stuff. I have total smem every month. I have smem every month myself. Okay. So my smem accumulates to a certain point. So my total smem, and what I do is I'm sitting on this pile of cash, and then I wait for an opportunity for an investment to come along. So when I saw COVID, so what I was going to do is I was actually going to buy a rental property with this before COVID hit. I was saving up my total smem to buy a rental property. Okay. I wasn't going to sell any of my investments to buy it. So when COVID hit, the markets took a shit kicking. So what I started doing was I started doing a lot more research in the markets, because I was never really too active in the stock market. So what I did was I'm like, okay, let's have a look at a bunch of different stocks. So I saw that bank stock. I talked to my dad about it because he's huge into stocks. So he bought a bunch of TD Bank stocks. So he's like, go buy TD. It's really low. Go buy it at 50 a share. So I missed it. I bought it at 55 a share, and it's been sitting above 60 a share now, which is really cool. And they give dividends. So that's really cool. So I think now is the time, if you do want to look at the stock market, even in the US, there's a lot of stocks that are taking a hit. And I know it's a kind of a scary time, but if you want to become wealthy, you have to take a risk. Okay, not stupid risk, but calculated risk. So there are stocks out there that pay a good dividend. Okay, so you have to look for it. For myself, I bought TD Bank, and I bought something called a REIT, R-E-I-T. REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. Okay, so what that is you know all the malls you see out there, the different properties like buildings and stuff you see out there, and then you'll see like a management company or holding company that owns it all. So RioCan is a big one here in Canada. RioCan, you might see RioCan listed on different, like they own the Yonge and Eglinton big plaza. They own a bunch of different real estate. Their tenants are really good. They got like Staples, Metro, Loblaws. They got all these big tenants, right? And their stock took a hit too, because people were afraid, oh, why would I want to buy into this company when you're having trouble collecting from tenants, right? So what I found out about REITs is that it's kind of like being a landlord without owning physical property. So if you buy into a REIT, you become part of the land. You become a landlord. You own part of RioCan or whatever these companies are, and you own these properties that sell, that lease out to like big grocery stores and stuff, and they pay you a dividend every month. So RioCan pays a dividend of 12 cents per share per month. So if you own 1,000 shares of RioCan, they pay you $120 a month. So mind you, it's not super cheap to buy into that stock. It's trading at about $15 a share right now. So if you want to buy 1,000 shares, you're going to have to spend $15,000, right, to get $120 a month. But I mean, if you have the capital to deploy, then do it. I'm not saying you guys should go and do that. That's what I did. Okay, whatever I do, I'm not going to tell other people, oh, you should do this, you should do that. No, because investment is a very, very personal thing. Some people don't feel comfortable buying stocks. Some people feel comfortable, like Joseph, with real estate. Great. I'm not going to go and tell Joseph, hey, Joseph, you should buy these stocks. Buy that. You know what I mean? He's probably going to be like, okay, man, thanks for the tips, but I'm good. I got my real estate. I got my money tied up in that, and that's cool too. So REIT is another thing. Look that up, R-E-I-T, Real Estate Investment Trust. And the dividends they pay you out every month is like getting your rent. So it's kind of like, I feel like I'm a landlord at RioCan, and I'm getting a couple $100 a month every month from them. That's like my rent. So I don't care if RioCan goes up. I don't care if it goes down, because I'm just going to hold on to it for, I don't know, 10, 20 years or longer. So they're just going to keep paying me out every month. That's cool. So yeah, that's my little spiel on what a REIT is, and about income producing stocks. So some people, like my dad, like he'll buy stocks and he'll sit on it for like 20. He's been buying stocks for about 25 years. So, and he loves bank stocks. I don't know why. He's very, very, my father's very, very risk adverse. So he's a government employee. He buys stocks. He's very, very frugal. And his house, he converted part of it to rental. So he rents part of it. So my father is making money that way. That's his way of making money. And he's built up his wealth just doing that. But his stocks have really increased in value over the 20 years. And then, of course, he's getting all these dividends every month. I don't know how much he's getting. We don't talk about that kind of stuff. But he's getting his dividends like that. So that's where I got the idea from. I'm like listening to him like, okay, so that's what you're doing. So there's a lot of people out there with a lot of stocks just living on the dividends. Now, those dividends that you get every month, that's your passive income. What do you want to do with those dividends? Do you want to spend it? I can take it out and go for a nice dinner, or I can reinvest it and buy more stocks, or I could buy more real estate, or I can buy anything. There's a lot of different investments out there. So that is what a REIT is, if you're interested, look at that. And the United States has tons and tons of REITs, lots of them down there, just do some research. Like I said, now, if you're interested in any sort of investment opportunity, do your research. Lots and lots of research out there. All right. Yes. So do we have any other further questions or comments? Anybody want to ask anything? Did anybody want to comment about anything? We'd love to hear it. I think we'll stay on for another maybe 5 or 10 minutes.
Warren, I just wanted to say something about
Yes.
one comment you made about you know how you're talking about being frugal and
Yep.
it's different from being cheap and being
Mm-hmm.
like it's not the same thing. Just the
That's
fact
right.
that you're economical, it doesn't mean you're cheap. They're different. Yeah, I think I really like that.
Cool.
It's very I think it's very true, and again, I think I could testify for yourself and myself that one way we always showed that is when we went out for dinner. I mean, of course you want to enjoy life, so you don't want to like blow your money on. You don't want to always blow your money, but I think even if we got a bad service, I think we never ever stiffed any waitresses or waiters ever. We always tried to, even if it was bad, okay, we tipped a fair amount and then we moved on to a different, okay, we said, okay, that place is not for us. We don't want that place. We went somewhere else. I think it shows a lot of character that way. I think it's good. I think it's a good thing that it shows the difference between being a cheapskate versus being someone that knows how to spend their money wisely or properly. So I just wanted to point that out to you.
Cool. Thanks for that. And you know, I'll tell you this quick little story about waiters and waitresses, servers. So I was sitting with a friend of mine, his name's Glenn, very wealthy guy. Some of you know him. And I remember we went for coffee at this little shop and bought lunch and whatever. And the bill was like, I don't know, it was really small. It was like $20, no, $14 something. So Glenn, he left, the tip on that would be what, $2, $3 on a $14 tab, $4? Yeah. So he left a $20, no, he put $40 down for the whole thing. And I go, okay, are you going to get some change back? He goes, no. I go, why are you leaving so much tip? He goes, you know, Warren, you got to think about something here. Not everybody is as fortunate as we are. And he said, you got to remember, a lot of these servers here, they're struggling a lot of times financially. They are students, or they might have like, this could be a second job. They're trying to make ends meet. These people are not making a lot of money to begin with. So that $20 I gave them, do you think that goes a lot further for them than it does for me? I mean, what's that $20 going to do for me? And I go, yeah, that's actually a really good point. So when he said, I'm like, yeah, you know what? He's right. That $20, there's a huge tip for that little amount of bill. But I'm like, it really could help that person a lot more than it'll help us, let's say. So yeah, you're right. Cheap is not a good thing. And you know how you hear stories? I love when I talk to people, friends, and they go to weddings or they go to barbecues, and I'll ask them, how was it? And they'll be like, usually they're like, oh man, it wasn't good. Why? Oh, well, you know, when I went to this barbecue, they just gave like Costco hot dogs and hamburgers. You see what I mean? So they're cheap. So you see, they already had a bad impression. Or I went to this wedding and they served like chicken and or something cheap, you know, and it was like they cut down on this and that, and you could just tell it was really cheap, right? They're just trying to save money as much as possible, right? So when you start doing stuff like that, I'm not saying being super lavish, but when you start doing things like that, you get this impression of being a cheapskate. You know what I mean? So if you're someone who wastes money, unfortunately, that's a better impression than someone who's a cheapskate. So when you're a cheapskate, people talk about you behind your back. Oh, I don't like this guy. Let's not invite him. This person here is cheap. No, I don't call this person here. So if you're trying to build wealth, so building wealth requires building relationships with people, talking to different people, networking with different people, talking about ideas. But when people don't like you already because you're cheap, then it becomes really, really, really difficult. You know what I mean? So yeah, don't be cheap. Don't be cheap. You know. So the difference between frugal and cheap is this. So being cheap is like I go to the department store because I got to buy my kid some winter clothes. So I see some gloves here, and you know, and it's on special. It's like in the bargain bin, and it's like $2 or something. Okay, these pair of gloves, but they're so thin. But I'm thinking, yeah, my kids need gloves, so I'll just buy. It's only $2. And then I see this other pair of gloves here. If it's like $20, and I'm like, I don't want to spend $20 on gloves. And then I see this other pair of gloves here. It's $5.99. Okay, and it's reduced from, let's say, $7.99, so it's $2 off. But this $5.99 pair of gloves is better quality. See, it's a better quality, so my kid will be a little more comfortable. Or I can just go cheap and go $2, and I'll save $3 or $4 or whatever, and then my kid will have to wear these cheap gloves and be cold. You see, so being frugal, I will buy the $5.99, make sure my kid is comfortable, but I don't have to buy a $20 pair of gloves. Being cheap is buying the $2 pair of gloves. So that's essentially the difference. Okay, so it's not that's good. You know, actually, my father said something to me that's really interesting. He said, I remember when I was growing up as a kid, he said to me, he goes, it's really hard to be poor, because when I was growing up, my dad was really hard on me, made me work all the time, and he was always like on me about spending money. He didn't like that kind of stuff. That's why I went crazy blowing money when I was a teacher, because I was out of my shell. I was out of his grasp, and I could do whatever I wanted. I've never spent money like this before. It was such a good time. I always lived very, very frugally. And the problem, what he said to me, he goes, the reason why you don't want to be poor is, he says, every time I go to the grocery store, and I would see in the morning, you would see these old people, these really, really old people, and they're all hovering around like the bargain bin area, where the old vegetables go. Like, it's really cheap. They're just trying to get rid of these vegetables that are really old, and it's like really, really cheap. So these old people are all hovered around there trying to grab it. And he said it's really, really sad. And he said, it's not something that I want to go through. It's not something I want you to go through. So he says it's very, very important that you work hard, you save your money, that sort of thing. And so it's important with that. All right. Thanks for that, Brewer. That was a great little comment. Yeah. Are there any more questions or anything? Anybody want a final comment before we sign off? I'll let you. It is almost 2 p.m. Eastern time. So, we still have about 7 or 8 hours left in the day to go make some wealth. So I don't want to be taking up all your time for your wealth building adventures for you people, your newfound wealth building adventures.
I have a question, Warren. This is Felix from Baltimore.
Yes, Felix from Baltimore. How you doing?
Yes. So on a call, this is my first time on a call, just listening, and it seems like everyone here is an active investor, or that they aspire to be an active investor. Listening to Joe's description, not description, but what Joe does on a day-to-day, and I know that from a first-hand account. But not sure what this call's about, the community or connections, but I think this is my first time, and I would like to be on other calls. But is there an opportunity for the young lady? An example would be for the young lady who wants to invest, and with the opportunity here in the U.S. and with the many opportunities here in Baltimore, to create a partnership where there is investment opportunity. And as Joe described the Burr strategy, there is a way to beat the gains in the stock market and kind of to hedge what's happening to both economies in Canada as well as the US during COVID, because there's a proven strategy here, and Joe can speak to that. But using a pro forma, analyzing the numbers, kind of kicking that analysis out to the prospective investor to show, there's an institutional partner, there's hard money lenders, and then there's yourself, and to streamline that entire analysis into something that can be into money.
Wow, that's actually pretty cool. What did you have in mind, or what sort of
during the entire, I shut down my computer, but during the entire presentation, I was working on a pro forma. So I was looking at both LoopNet and CityFeet, looking for deals in Wilmington, Delaware, which is the next city that's going to take off, because population, Philadelphia is going through something right now. So the blue collar and the poor folks who live in Philadelphia, they're coming south into Chester and Wilmington. And people in Baltimore, they're experiencing so much success, they don't go north. So you have this amazing opportunity in Wilmington, Delaware. Cheap properties, population boom, population density, it's all there. So what did I have in mind to answer your question? So I built a quick pro forma just to play with some numbers to do an analysis. So if an individual was looking for a gain between, these are low, and this is all hypothetical, between 8 and 12%, I think that can be done with a total investment of under $100,000 doing a cash out refi with the ARV of $150,000. That's a win-win for everybody. and the institutional partners already in place to do the cash out refi. The LLC would already be set up. So it's just an idea.
This is all still involving real estate, of course, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. So there's sounds like some really good opportunity. Did you want to put that in the chat for us? If there's a website we can look at or something, you know how to do that on the chat? There should be a chat.
Yeah. I mean, I use Zoom for work. Maybe this is really cold, but it's probably best for me to do that when I'm warm, right? Like a real analysis. I don't want to shoot anything from the hip. That's not good.
You're looking pretty warm to me, man. You don't look cold at all, brother.
On the next call, maybe. And I need to clear some things with Joe just so I can understand some things.
Sure, man. I can get back to these people here. Now, Joseph said something that's interesting. He said, Baltimore is doing well. And he said that you got investors from Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia coming to you guys now, buying stuff in Baltimore because Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. is more expensive.
Yes, that's
so
true.
They're coming to Baltimore. There's a lot of deals. I mean, I wish I could buy a house in Baltimore, but like I said, this 30% thing, I don't know. That kind of turns me off a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm just wondering how much. Huh?
You can hedge against that. That's not uncommon. It's the same thing happening in Europe. I mean, that's just a common practice, but
yeah,
you can hedge against that with the right numbers, the right pro forma, the right analysis. So that 30% you can hedge that.
Okay, because I thought, that's actually interesting. I'll talk to you more about this after, but I thought the only way to hedge against it, I talked to one of my buddies about this, and he goes, yeah, the way to get around that is you get a really good friend in the U.S., you put the property in their name, and you better hope they're not going to screw you.
I mean, there's a legal way to do that. there's a legal way to do that. You just become
right. I'm not saying I'm going to do that, but I'm like, oh, maybe Jeff, because that's what he's doing. He's got family members down in the U.S., so he gets them to buy. He gives them the money to buy the property. And then basically that person just gives him the money.
Or just create an LLC
Canada.
and you're a partner in that LLC. That
right.
creates ownership. And you kind of avoid the tax. That becomes the tax shelter in that sense.
Okay, pretty cool. You know what? I'd love to chat. I'd love to chat with you more, Felix, about this. This is some good stuff. I think we're gonna sign off now. And I just want to say again, thanks for everybody for listening in. I hope you got some good advice here. And Joseph, again, thanks a lot for giving your input. It's really good.
Absolutely.
And if anybody here wants more information, or you want to chat with us, or you want some notes or whatever, you just feel free to send me a message, and I can hook you up, things like that. So, and Felix, yeah, we'll talk later if that's cool.
For sure.
Okay, everybody have a great rest of the day, rest of the weekend, rest of the day as well. And we will, I'll let you know when, if I decide to do another seminar. I think maybe the next seminar I'll do might be on raising financially successful children. Maybe I'm thinking about doing that one. I got a lot of ideas about that, but we'll talk more about that at another time. Have a great rest of the day. Signing off.